Client onboarding is a vital process in nurturing your relationship with clients, especially if you plan on doing live video production, which is why I'm so excited because in this episode, we're talking about client onboarding. And here's the thing, most clients in 2021 don't know what they want or what they need when it comes to producing an online virtual event. That's where you come in and that's where you are going to shine. Because today in this episode of Showrunner Secrets from the Set, we're talking about how you could go ahead and win that confidence with your client by giving them the best client onboarding experience. Clients don't know what they don't know. And because you know how to use Ecamm and all the amazing things that it's capable of, this is your opportunity to inspire them with what you can do. So having said that, let's go ahead and get started. All right, friends, welcome to another episode of Showrunner Secrets from the Set, Ecamm fam. I am Stephanie Liu, and this show is all about teaching you the wonderful ways to have a successful live broadcast. For those of you that are just thinking about, man, I really want to get into remote live video production, this is the episode for you because now we are talking about the actual onboarding experience. When we kicked off the very first episode of Showrunner Secrets from the Set, we had talked about the evolution of live streaming and the rise of the remote live producer. Because here's the thing, if you've been thinking about this, right, and you're like, man, I don't know which industries, what areas I should get into, go to that very first episode because we talked about all the things. We talked about doing remote live video production for weddings, ceremonies, graduations, shareholder meetings. That's my favorite right there, the shareholder meetings. Because here's the thing. That's where you know the key decision makers are, right? And when you impress one shareholder, you're going to impress the rest of the shareholders. And that's an opportunity for you to create recurring revenue. I'm telling you, that first episode, that was fly. That was hot. So you definitely want to go ahead and go back to that. Now, in today's episode, we're going to be talking about client onboarding and what your experience is like. While you're here, if you're already doing remote live video production, I would love to know, what is your client onboarding experience? What do you do for your clients? How do you separate yourself from the sea of sameness? The first thing that I do this. Step number one, how do you impress your clients? You bust out your gear, right? You let them know that you're a part of the Ecamm fam. That's what you do. Yeah. Okay, so today we're talking about live video producer, the client onboarding experience. I would love to know what you do to get a client on board. Next week, we're going to get into the good stuff. We're going to be talking about structure and storyboard. And we are going to go ahead and jump right into the very first thing. Boop. All right. So what I'm showing you what I actually do, which not that many people get to see behind the curtain. Let's talk about when you are talking to a client. Most people, when you are going to be talking to a client, you're going to first have your discovery call. And during that discovery call, you want to figure out what exactly your client wants when it comes to remote live video production. Like I said before, most clients don't really know what it is that they want. That could be really quite troublesome because they might have seen like a shady production and that's what they want. And you're like, no, I use Ecamm. Let me show you all the awesome and amazing things that I can do. First, definitely have that discovery call. Figure out what it is your client wants to do. What's the look and feel? How many people do they want to have during that actual event? Is it going to be on site? Are they going to have an MC? Moving right along. Usually when I'm working with clients, I present to them like, hey, let me tell you a little bit about myself. So when I send this over to them, here's a little bit about me. You could do the same thing for your media kit as well, or your pricing, your packaging, your services. Let them know that you know your stuff. How many events have you actually done? What industry are you at the top of? Which industry are you like, I'm all about weddings, I'm all about live shopping. Go ahead and let them know a little bit about you, what software you use, how long you've been doing this in the industry, if you're new, if you do this for nonprofits. I think that's going to be really, really helpful when you're talking to a client during the actual onboarding experience. So in here, I put like a little bit of a bio because here's the thing. I know that when I am working with someone, I know that the person that I am talking to on the phone, right? The person that I am talking to on the phone is most likely going to be sharing that PDF of my services to someone else. Because most likely the event organizer that is reaching you reports to someone else, like the board of directors or to their CMO. Usually they're just kind of putting feelers out there. And so you can't always trust the telephone game. You can't always trust that people are going to communicate the way that you communicate about how awesome and amazing that you are. And so when you have a PDF of your services of what it is that you can do, that's always going to be helpful. So let's go ahead and go back over here. Tell them a little bit about what it is that you do. If you have been published anywhere, then let's talk about your approach. Now, I've actually mentioned this before to a couple of folks, and I've always said that the difference between me and other remote live video producers out there is that my background is in marketing. So I'm a social media strategist. I wrote a book on social media strategy. And so when I'm talking with clients, I let them know how I'm different from the sea of sameness. I'm like, my background is in social media. I could do paid media advertising. This is what I do. When I'm working with a client, I want to show them my approach. So what's your approach when it comes to actually doing your events? The reason why I pose that question is because some people only do the live streaming, while there are others who know everything about live streaming or designing the actual graphics. There are some there who also know about website hosting and all the different things. This is an amazing opportunity for you to let the event organizer know what makes you different from everyone else. So what's your approach? Now, when I talk to my clients, I tell them that we usually work in 3 phases. There's pre-production, there's production, and there's post-production. During the pre-production phase, the most important thing that happens for my clients and I is to make sure that we actually have a creative brief. How many of you, show of hands, actually use a creative brief? I do. I come from an agency background, and it's important for me to understand, what is this event? What's the messaging? What's the purpose? What's the ambiance? What's the energy? What's the feel that you want to have for this event? And so having a creative brief is always helpful. Then we also have a script and a storyboard. A script and a storyboard, we outline this in the pre-production phase. You want to have your creative brief, your script, and your storyboard. All of this will go into detail because, like I said, if you have your notebooks, this is where you're going to write it down. And then basic media graphics. Are you going to do the media graphics, or do they have a creative team that's going to design it for you? If they don't have anyone to do that, if you know how to do that, awesome. Then during the pre-production phase, we always have a tech rehearsal. This is kind of like, let me show you why it's important to have an Ethernet cable. Might as well have that conversation at the very beginning. This is usually when I'm having a conversation with the event organizer and they're saying, well, you know, our VP, he says that whenever he's on Zoom, he has the best internet. This is completely different when you are doing a remote live stream, right? So that usually happens during pre-production. And then production, that's the on-air camera. Are you doing the scene switching? Let them know, do you have a second live producer that's going to be helping you? Do you have a back channel? Where is the conversation going to be happening? I know for my crew and I, we've actually use WhatsApp. That's where we say things like, did she really just turn herself into a potato? Anyways, that's what you're going to do during the production. On-air media graphics, Skype or remote speaker integration. PS, by the way, for those of you who don't know yet, there is a built-in guest interview feature in Ecamm, right? So make sure you get on that because it's such an amazing experience. Then we go into post-production. Post-production is an opportunity for you to still build rapport and have that relationship with your clients after the event ends, because knowing you, your event was amazing. And in their head, they're already thinking, how can I work with you again? Go back to episode number 1. It says, hey, if you really liked this event, these are all the different ways that we can help you. Other things to know about post-production is that maybe they don't have a stellar, awesome, amazing social media team. That's going to be your opportunity to say like, hey, we can even clean up the live stream, give you a final file that you could repurpose across social media. You could turn it into an Instagram story, LinkedIn story, whatever the case may be. We do it all around. Here's everything else that I also tell with clients what Lights Camera Live does. We talk about the social integration. So coming from a marketing background, we talk about like, hey, if we're going to do this live stream, here's an opportunity for us to provide you with analytics to let you know how your actual live stream performed. Where did you get the most engagement? Now, if you use Restream with Ecamm Live, Restream gives you these powerful analytics to let you know which of those channels actually drove the most viewership. Not only that though, but which of those viewers was actually driving majority of the conversations. That's going to be really important. This is also very helpful because if your event organizer has sponsors that are sponsoring the actual event, it's very helpful for them to turn back around and say, thank you so much for sponsoring our event. These are the results. This is how many people showed up. This is what people thought about your presentation, so on and so forth. Again, I'm telling you, this is how you separate yourself from the sea of sameness. The other part then is the creative. So generally for Lights Camera Live, we help our clients with creative. We say like, hey, you know what? A part of our pre-promotion strategy is that we create a Facebook event. We do Instagram stories. We do all the things, even down to chat marketing, to get people to RSVP via Facebook Messenger. So I'm not saying you have to do all of this. I'm just saying, think about all the different skills that you have at your disposal. Or because you're so active in the Ecamm community, are there people that you can leverage and hire to be a part of your virtual team for this remote live video production? Also, when I talk to clients, I let them know that my background is also in paid media. So if they wanted to live stream, let's say into a Facebook event, which PS, by the way, you totally can, you can even put some paid media budget behind that Facebook event. So if they wanted to get more people to RSVP to the event, they absolutely can. So that's going to be your opportunity to do that as well. Then you could talk about earned media versus owned, because when I enter into the conversation, it's more than just here's your run of show, here's some technical stuff. I'm talking about Lights Camera Live comes in and we say like, we take care of you from beginning to end. We're your CMO, we're your CTO, the whole entire way through for this virtual event. And then SEO, if you're doing any content strategy stuff, that's an opportunity for you as well. For all my social media folks, remember the post-production phase that I was talking about? This is our social media distribution strategy. You already put together an amazing virtual event. Let them know that you have this opportunity by taking that HD recording and turning it into case studies, long form articles. You could turn it into social media content, into your Facebook post, Instagram, LinkedIn, Twitter, maybe even some YouTube shorts if that's your thing. But when an event organizer knows like, wow, Kevin's gonna take care of me from beginning to end, this is why I choose him. This is why I want to work with that remote live video producer, because they have all of this in store. When you're having this discovery call with the event organizer, more often than not, they are reporting to somebody else. And so when you have something like this PDF that outlines all of the amazing, wonderful things that you can do, it becomes distributable, which means that you could easily attach it to an email. It could get forwarded to someone else. It could get forwarded over to sponsors to say, and sponsor, you get all these clips that you could then add to your social media channels as well. Distribution strategy. This is a game changer. As a social media marketer, this is a part of our content strategy. We tell our clients, when you work with us to do a social media strategy, it's a video first strategy. You're going to create this pillar content. We're then going to use Descript to turn that into a long form blog article, ebook, whatever the case may be, maybe even like a series of emails. That's going to be amazing. So take a screenshot of this. This is going to be an opportunity for you. We're talking about how you can stay top of mind and tip of tongue, because when you knock this out of the park, they're going to recommend you. And PS, by the way, you should totally be asking for testimonials when you are doing these events. This is something that's included in our PDF of services. Then I let them know, our team is going to help you. I could put this in bullet points. I let them know explicitly, this is how we're going to help you from beginning to end. You officially have my brain on speed dial. It's not just like, oh, can I only talk to you on the day of? No. You and I are going to be like BFFs. How many weeks leading up to your actual event, right? So let them know how your team, how you are going to help them. That's going to be an amazing opportunity. So then let's talk about our services. Depending on what your discovery call is about. Maybe you want to list out all of your services, or maybe just that one service that makes sense for whatever event they're trying to put on right now. So our services for Lights Camera Live, we do premium live video producer, basic, and live video consulting. First one, we go all out. Right? It's the creme de la creme. That's what we're going to do. Or it's going to be something that's basic, something that's going to be really simple. Or if you want to give it a try, which you obviously can, you're more than welcome to, I can also consult you along the way. Those are 3 packages that we offer. Then you're going to go ahead and say, what are the details? What's included? Are there any additional fees? The details, whenever we're doing events, depending on what the conversation is going to be, we're starting at whatever price point, because I want to weed out. I'm like, hey, if you don't have the budget, then you don't have the budget, but I have have all these other people that I can refer you to. So depending on what your price point is going to be, starting at blah, 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 this is what we're going to offer. What's important to me when I'm talking to clients for what's included is that I say things like 7 hours of pre-production with your dedicated live video producer. We could also do things where we could bring in presentations, we could bring in sound effects, how many additional speakers, it's all in here. Then you could also talk about like, are you live streaming to multiple destinations, channel, domain, network, CDN? Something that I also include for us, again, you want to add in something that makes you different from everyone else. At Lights Camera Live, we also include the Fascination Fast Track Marketing, which means because I already know how to pre-promote an event from beginning, middle, and end, they already have the templates. Think about that. Oh, you're planning your very first virtual event? Let me show you. I already have like virtual event in a box. It's called the Fascination Fast Track. Do you want that? You get that when you sign up for this level of service. Does that make sense? All right, let them know what's included, price out your time, and start thinking about what's included. Then you're gonna have your additional fees. So additional fees could be something like, if you were to take care of the graphics for them, how much would that cost? And if you don't know how to do it, then reach out to Bradley Vincent or all the other people, or Elicio actually put together like this graphic here. See how it's animated? He could hook you up in that case. Make connections with people in the Ecamm Live community because they can help you out. Kevin, who does big events, he's saying, include in your contract use of screenshots, clips for your portfolio. Yes, we didn't even get into that yet. That's a good one. All right, cool. So additional fees. If you don't know how to do the graphics, that's fine. There are resources and relationships. That's why you want to be a part of the Ecamm Live community because you're going to find some very, very talented folks in there. On-air graphics, maybe you might even have someone where they're just like, oh, can you create like a slideshow for me? Why, yes, I can. Get a creative brief, put that together, put it into the run of show. So that is premium live producer. And then basic live producer, pretty straightforward. This is when you take away things that were in your premium service, right? So what's the price point? If you went from 7 hours to 5 hours or whatever it's going to be. Notice how I use a bit of psychology in this. It's called price anchoring. Because for me, if we're going to start off like at the very top, this is everything that you're going to get. You're going to get dedicated live video producer, on-air graphics. You're going to get this, and this, plus the Fascination Fast Track, right? That's money. And then you go into basic. And then you're taking things away from a psychological perspective. When you're price anchoring, you're like, this is everything that you're going to get. But as soon as you slide over to a lower price point, these are all the things you don't get. That's what they're going to remember. So that's a helpful strategy. So basic live video producer, same thing, details, what's included, additional fees. Boom. Then we go into live video consulting because you may have someone that they just don't have the budget and that's completely okay. You could say, well, I could still coach you along the way. I could tell you about what gear you need to produce. If you want to get started with Ecamm Live, let me go ahead and show you how to get underneath the hood and get started with that. That's another opportunity for you as well. What I will tell you is that for those clients that actually do take you up on this option, more often than not, I would probably say 8 out of 10, they realize, oh crap, I'm in over my head. Can we just go back over to the premium? That's going to be really helpful. Here's another thing. Some of these live streaming platforms, they have these built-in graphics. And more often than not, your clients, that might have been what they have seen, right? They're like, oh, well, we could just type it in and then it looks like this. But you're like, but we can make it look better. So this is your opportunity to, again, to kind of like showcase, what kind of broadcasting graphics can you offer them? And so I give them a quick peek. We could do a countdown timer. If you haven't bought like the countdown timer from Live Streaming Pros, that's an opportunity for you. So we could say we could do a countdown timer. You could do a talking head. You could do a presentation like this. This right here is a presentation. You could do an interview. You could have a panel, how many speakers they want to have. You want to help them visualize what they can do with a remote live video production with you at the helm, okay? Because they don't know what they don't know. This is your opportunity to show all the amazing and cool things that you could do with Ecamm because why not? How you like that? You might as well, because Ecamm has like all these amazing things that you can do. So broadcast graphics, that's going to be an amazing opportunity. Then let them know the brands that you've actually worked with. So for us, I usually do it by client specific. So in this particular example, it was for a number of conferences. So I threw in like big names that they would be familiar with. It was also very local. And so I would throw out the names out there. If you're doing live stream shopping, make it make sense. Pull those graphics any which way that you want. Kevin had mentioned earlier as well, in your contract for usage, have clips, do all the different things that you can possibly do. Then I give them an opportunity to ask questions. At the get-go, I'm like, here are some frequently asked questions. I know this is teeny tiny right now, you won't be able to see it, but I say, here's some frequently asked questions based off of all of the events that I've already done. Notice that even when I say that, I say, based off of all of the events that we've done for the last 5 years, here are the most frequently asked questions. Notice that I mentioned the time frame or how many events that I've done to show them this isn't my first rodeo. I've done this before. Here are some commonly asked questions that we know how to answer and know how to problem solve, so that way you don't have to troubleshoot on the fly. So give them some frequently asked questions, things that they don't know. And if you already created content, if you have a live stream show that are answering all of those questions, then you have an opportunity to respond to every different learning style. Those that want to read about it, those that want to watch it, or those that want to have the kinesthetic where they want a PDF or a checklist. So for Rich that asked earlier, do you have a checklist? Probably a kinesthetic learner. So the more that you have that handy, that's going to be amazing. Then email for more details, how they're going to contact you. Again, this is going to be an amazing opportunity because you never know who is going to get that slide deck and it's going to be sent to someone else. Okay, so we talked a little bit about visual branding elements, how super helpful that's going to be. This is also going to be very helpful when you put this in the storyboard, which we're going to talk about next week. When we talked about pre-production, this is for those of you that are just starting out, this is going to be very helpful for you. So during pre-production, as I mentioned before, that's where you're going to brainstorm. Ask the client, what kind of event do you see yourself having? What do you want to accomplish? What's the ambiance? What's the feel? All of those questions that I just asked right now, put that in a checklist. These are the questions that you're going to ask your client. What's the goal of your event? What are your expectations? What are your fears? What do you not want to happen, right? I love to ask that client, what do you not want to happen? And usually they'll say like, I don't want choppy video. I don't want the audio to be out of sync. And then that's like, then you want to get an Ethernet cable. Then you want to get an external mic. Then you want to have a tech rehearsal. These are things that are going to be super helpful to have. Here's another one. So it's going to be run of show. Run of show is a document that lays out the timing, the program, and the content for each moment of the event. We're going to go into this into detail, I think, next week. But usually your client may have a fuzzy idea of what it is exactly that they want. Because you are the remote live producer, you know that the audience attention span is going to be very, very different from an on-site event. I'm like, how do I say this nicely? You also have to let them know if their speakers don't have the energy to keep people entertained for however long their event is going to be. Amzi is saying the run of show is like the Holy Grail. Yes, it absolutely is. It's the Holy Grail. Don't skip out on that. Put together a run of show. Then you're going to be like, oh, do we need an overlay for that? Do we need a lower third graphic for that? Is there an entrance song that someone needs to have played when they're about to hit the mic? How many people do I need to do tech rehearsals for? So having that all together is going to be really helpful. Boom, over here. Okay, so the run of show is going to be very, very helpful. Create your own template. I actually have my own video script maker. Video script maker is a wonderful way where I could plug in intros, hooks, and teasers. Because sometimes when your client is scripting this out, they're like, what's the best transition? If you can help them out with that, that's going to be amazing. Because a copywriter that writes copy for a sales page on a website is very, very different from writing copy for an actual remote live video production. How do you keep people engaged from beginning, middle, and end? Boom. So this is something that I actually created a long time ago, and it's called the Video Script Maker. What it does is that it actually pulls in what you want the intro, the hook, the teaser, all of that to be in there, so that way you can actually stay organized. So Video Script Maker, you could just type in Google Video Script Maker and boom, it'll pop up. If you can't find it, then just let me know and I'll drop that for you. All right, so having a run of show is going to be absolutely essential. Do not move forward without this. Make sure that you get this ahead of time so that way you know which graphics you need, how many tech rehearsals that you need to do as well. Another way that you could have a run of show, it doesn't have to be fancy in an Excel spreadsheet, just put it in a Google Doc. I've done this with clients too. At the very top, I like to have everyone's phone numbers, hey, emergency, call me. How to hit me up on WhatsApp, whatever it is that we have to do. If you have the interview link, add it on in there. But we always have this kind of like Lord of the Rings, one doc to rule them all. One doc to rule them all. Sorry, doc. So run of show is going to be very helpful. However, which way you want to use it to actually produce it, that's your call. I use something called Showflo. This is like overkill, but I like Showflo because it gives me the opportunity where I could create a run of show. I could plan the rundown. I could put the actual script in there, turn it into teleprompter view when I want to. It also takes in live edits. Anytime we add something new into the run of show, it pushes out the time. I find this to be very, very helpful. So up to you on how fancy you want to get when it comes to actually creating your run of show. I've done a spreadsheet, I've done a Google Doc, I've done Showflo itself. Depends on, your client. Like I said, if it's a visual client, I'm going to show them like a storyboard, which is basically like pictures and whatnot. And then for those that like want the minute details, minute to minute, what exactly is going to be happening, that's going to be very helpful to have. Then you have your tech rehearsals. You cannot skip out on this. Tech rehearsals are absolutely essential. If you don't have a tech rehearsal, and they're having like C-level executives be a part of it. Fatality. I mean, game over. There's not much you could really do. So if I were you, if you're investing all of this time from discovery call to pre-planning, production, and post-production, make sure you have all of that stuff. Then you also want to have your checklist. Here's another thing that you should have. You should actually have a tech setup checklist. Brand this any which way that you want. Let them know, like, okay, for the internet, make sure you have your internet upload speed is at least 5 megabits per second. During your tech rehearsal, you're probably going to say, let's go to speedtest.net. Let's check this out. Oh, okay, P.S. by the way, you could get an Ethernet cable, 20-foot cable. How much? Go for it. And so usually when you're going through this, like internet upload speed, other things you're going to talk about is the wired connection. Check devices, right? Make sure that their phones, make sure it's away from the mic. Make sure it's disconnected, iPads, all the things. No one's streaming in the other room. Closing down apps. I can't tell you how many times I've actually had event speakers and they have like Outlook open. So make sure that they're closing down other apps because that will help them with the actual production of their show. So close down those apps. Audio visual, let's talk about like using earphones, microphones, and the webcam. Again, if you want to be fancy with it, make yourself top of mind and tip of tongue, actually go ahead and spend some budget. Send them a webcam, send them an external mic, send them some headphones, whatever it is that you can do. I've even had one of my students who's like, I don't have the budget to send them all that stuff. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to send them a branded lens cloth that they could just wipe the screen, wax on, wax off, and just make sure that they actually look good on camera. When you have your own checklist for this, again, I want you to look like a professional, like you know what it is that you're actually doing, what separates you from everyone else, right? So when you let them know what your services are, all the things that are included, like even if you're a Mary Fain brand and because you're doing something like LinkedIn Live and not everyone has access to LinkedIn Live, you might want to throw in a couple of stats on why LinkedIn Live is so freaking awesome, why they might want to go ahead and live stream into a LinkedIn event, right? Because in LinkedIn events, you could have polls, chats, and all the things. And if you're doing any LinkedIn advertising, that's a gold mine right there. Lots to learn, lots to learn. So having your own branded checklist, I think that's going to be really, really important. Kevin is saying, tech check, do not watch and stream at the same time. Clients even try to hide that they are doing that. I love that Kevin mentioned that. When clients are like, can I be in the live stream and watch at the same time? I'm like, look, it's like being on stage. You can't be on stage and in the audience at the same time. You got to focus on what your message is going to be. The more that you try to distract yourself from what message you're trying to deliver, the the crappier the experience is going to be. Oh, that was real talk. My bad. So you want to make sure that you're on stage and you're not in the audience. So focus on what it is that you want, right? Focus on what it is that you want. Cool. Other things to include on your checklist is going to be lighting. If you're in a room with a window, like this is basic stuff that you know because you're already awesome and amazing at live streaming. Just know that the clients that you're working with, they probably don't know. And so when you're having this tech rehearsal, you could just be like, what would happen if you move the light over here? Sometimes when people have a problem, they have a hard time trying to figure stuff out. So they're like this is my problem. I can't figure it out. And you're just like this. You're like, dude, you need to like back up a bit and get a better view of what the problem is. And then that's where you get to consult them. So when we're talking about lighting and all that amazing stuff, that's going to be your opportunity to show them what it is that you know. Show them the before and afters. Never sit with your back to a window during an online video. If you're in a room without a window, some people might not have budget for like the Elgato key lights or the 3-point lighting, all that other stuff. Just get a freaking lamp. Get it from the living room. Change out the bulb. Do whatever it is that you have to do. You know, like get creative. I'm telling you things that I usually get whenever I'm running events for clients. So hopefully this will be helpful for you. Noise reduction. So we talked a little bit about this. Phones, alarms, interruptions, background noise, muting, knowing how to mute themselves, right? Echo, if you can hear an echo, making sure that they don't watch themselves in the browser. Oh, Kevin is saying, suggest, don't correct. This may be their first time. That's good advice too. I would also say it depends on your client's motivation, because I have a client who is what we call as like reverse polarity. If I tell her what she gains, like if I say like, it would look better if you did this, it doesn't motivate her. But if I say like, listen, if you don't fix that eyelash right now, you're going to look janky. And she's like, oh my God, okay, I'm going to go do that right now. People have different motivation strategies. Feel out your clients on what's going to work best for them. I usually find that saying what would happen if is usually a nice like softer approach in getting them to accept your ideas. But again, remember, you're the expert. Build rapport with your clients because you know that they're going to want to come back and work with you. So noise reduction, that's going to be very helpful as well. We usually have like a slide that says, we just experienced a technical glitch. You could have fun with this. It could be like a hamster that's like running in, someone feed the hamster, do whatever it is that you have to do. Or what I've done for clients is we would have video testimonials that we could just play.